Let me ask you something most people avoid asking themselves. When was the last time you felt proud of your own discipline? Not motivated, not inspired, disciplined. Most people don't fall apart because they lack talent. They fall apart because they can't trust themselves. They say they'll wake up early. They don't. They say they'll stop scrolling. They don't. They say they'll get serious next week. Next week never comes. And the worst part? You start losing respect for yourself. That quiet disappointment you feel in the morning, it's not because you're incapable. It's because you've been breaking small promises to yourself for years. This isn't going to be flashy. It's not a dopamine-heavy change your life overnight speech. This is about boring habits, the kind that don't look impressive, the kind that don't trend, the kind that quietly rebuild your identity. And I'm going to speak to you like someone who actually wants you to win. Let's start where most of your days fall apart. Habit 1. Win the first 5 minutes. A few years ago, my mornings were embarrassing. Alarm, snooze, snooze again, phone in hand before my eyes fully opened. Within minutes, I was consuming other people's lives, their progress, their wins, their highlight reels, and I hadn't even sat up yet. Tell me something. How are you supposed to build your own life when the first thing you do every day is step into someone else's? You're not tired. You're overstimulated before you're even conscious. Here's the fix. Put a glass of water next to your bed tonight. When you wake up tomorrow, before you check anything, before you think, before you negotiate with yourself, sit up, drink it. Your body has been dehydrated for 7 to 8 hours. Your brain needs hydration before it needs headlines. It sounds basic, because it is, but here's what you don't understand yet. That glass of water is not about hydration. It's about control. You just proved to yourself in the first minute of the day that you do what you said you would do. Now, immediately after, make your bed. Not because it's aesthetic, not because it's productive, because it's finished. You started something, you completed it. Most people live in open loops, half-done tasks, half-kept promises, half-built goals. Completion builds psychological stability. You don't need a 5 a.m. miracle routine. You need proof that your word means something. 5 minutes, 2 actions. You either take control of the day or the day takes control of you. Choose. Habit 2. Stop fighting biology. The afternoon crash. Let me tell you a story. I used to think I lacked discipline every afternoon. Around 2 p.m., my brain would shut down. I'd reread the same sentence 5 times. My focus disappeared. Everything felt heavy. So what did I do? Coffee, energy drinks, more caffeine, which worked for about 45 minutes. Then I'd crash harder. I thought I was weak. I wasn't. I was biological. After you eat, blood flow shifts toward digestion. Glucose fluctuates, your alertness naturally dips. That's not failure, that's physiology. But here's the difference between someone drifting through life and someone steering it. One plans around reality, the other fights it. Here's your adjustment. After lunch, walk for 10 minutes. No headphones, no scrolling, no step tracking. Just walk. It stabilizes blood sugar, clears mental fog, resets your nervous system. You don't need motivation for this. You need maturity. Maintenance beats motivation every time. You don't brush your teeth because you're inspired. You do it because it prevents decay. This is the same. Protect your afternoons and your output doubles. Ignore them and you'll keep thinking you're lazy. You're not lazy, you're unmanaged. Habit 3. Fix your nights or ruin your mornings. Now we're going somewhere uncomfortable. Your evenings. Let's be honest. You say you're winding down, but what you're actually doing is overstimulating yourself into exhaustion. I used to say just 5 minutes. One video became 10, 10 became 40, 40 became 1 a.m. And then I'd lie in bed, tired but wired, brain racing, heart slightly elevated, sleep nowhere in sight. You cannot flood your brain with constant stimulation and expect it to peacefully power down. Here's what changed everything. I replaced screens with pages, a physical book, paper. 20 minutes before bed. At first, it felt slow, almost boring. Exactly. That's the point. Your nervous system needs a downshift. When you remove artificial stimulation, your brain finally exhales. Sleep becomes natural again, not forced. You don't need melatonin. You don't need supplements. You need fewer inputs. And let me say this clearly. If you refuse to control your nights, you forfeit your mornings. You cannot sabotage your evenings and expect disciplined mornings. That's not how it works. Respect the night, win the morning. Let me be clear. None of this is extreme. That's intentional. Extreme routines collapse. Stable routines compound. Right now, we're not building hype. We're building structure. And structure creates peace. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. You don't have a motivation problem. You have a management problem. You're unmanaged financially, unmanaged nutritionally, unmanaged environmentally, and unmanaged systems create unmanaged emotions. You feel overwhelmed not because life is impossible, but because too many small leaks are draining you daily. Let's plug them. Habit 4. Track your money. Stop lying to yourself. I avoided tracking my money for years, not because I didn't know how, because I didn't want to see it. There's something psychologically uncomfortable about opening your banking app and realizing you've spent $280 this month on food delivery when you have groceries at home, or $150 on subscriptions you barely use, or random small purchases that somehow add up to something serious. It's not about the number, it's about what the number represents. Avoidance. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a visibility problem. If you don't track your spending, you're choosing ignorance, and ignorance feels easier until the consequences show up. Here's the rule. Track every dollar for 30 days, not to judge yourself, to understand yourself. You'll notice patterns. Stress equals spending. Boredom equals scrolling and ordering. Celebration equals I deserve this. Money reflects emotion. And when you start tracking it, you're not just tracking finances, you're tracking behavior. This is the powerful shift. When you track money, you stop reacting emotionally. You start deciding consciously. You go from where did my money go to I chose that. That's control. And control builds confidence. You don't need to be rich. You need to be aware, because awareness changes everything. Habit 5. Eat like an adult. Simple, clean, boring. Let me say this clearly. You do not need expensive superfoods to be healthy. You need consistency. There was a time I convinced myself I needed fancy meal plans, imported supplements, organic everything. Meanwhile, I was still inconsistent. That's ego. Health isn't glamorous. It's repetitive. Rice, eggs, chicken, beans, oats, frozen vegetables, potatoes. Real food. Simple food. Food that fuels you without draining your wallet. Here's what most people won't admit. They say they're broke while ordering $18 meals 3 times a week. That's not a money issue, that's a discipline issue. Cooking your own meals does something deeper than saving cash. It reinforces identity. Every time you cook instead of order, you're saying, I can take care of myself. That matters, because self-reliance builds confidence, and confidence isn't loud. It's stable. You stop chasing taste for stimulation. You start choosing fuel for performance. And when your nutrition stabilizes, your mood stabilizes, your energy stabilizes, your sleep improves. This is boring. That's why it works. The flashy diet trends fade. Simple systems last. Habit 6. The 10-minute night reset. Your environment is talking to you. Walk into your room right now. Look around. Be honest. Does it look like someone in control of their life lives there, or someone surviving? Your environment speaks to your nervous system constantly. Clutter creates subtle anxiety. Unfinished tasks create background stress. Mess creates cognitive noise. You may not consciously notice it, but your brain does. I used to think cleaning was optional. I tell myself, I'll do it later. Later never came, and I woke up every morning to the same visual chaos, which quietly reinforced the idea, I'm behind. So I started a rule, 10 minutes before bed, every night. Not deep cleaning, not reorganizing my entire life, just reset. Dishes in sink, done. Clothes on floor, picked up. Desk messy, cleared. Trash full, taken out. 10 minutes. Here's what changed. I stopped waking up overwhelmed. I stopped feeling like I was constantly catching up, because visually my space was stable, and stability in your environment translates into stability in your mind. You want clarity? Create order. You want peace? Reduce chaos. You cannot live in a constant mess and expect a calm internal state. Your surroundings either support your growth or sabotage it. Choose intentionally. The bigger pattern you're missing. Notice something. None of these habits are dramatic. No cold plunges, no extreme challenges, no 30-day transformation. Just systems. Tracking money, cooking food, resetting your space. These don't look impressive on social media, but they quietly remove friction from your life. And friction is what exhausts you. Most people try to build discipline on top of chaos. That's backwards. Reduce chaos first. Then discipline becomes easier. You don't need to become more intense. You need to become more organized. That's the harsh truth. You don't feel overwhelmed because life is attacking you. You feel overwhelmed because too many small things are unmanaged. When you manage the basics, your mental load decreases. And when your mental load decreases, your capacity increases. Let's step into something uncomfortable. Growth changes your relationships, and not everyone will like that. When you start waking up earlier, when you stop drinking every weekend, when you decline random plans, when you say, I've got work to do, some people will call you different. You are. That's the point. Habit 7. Protect your circle, the friend filter. There's a moment that hits most people quietly. You're out late, spending money you shouldn't, laughing at things that don't even feel funny. And deep down you know, this isn't aligned anymore. But you stay, because leaving feels awkward, because saying no feels uncomfortable, because being disciplined isn't socially rewarded in the moment. Here's the hard truth. You cannot build a serious future while living casually in the present. At some point, you have to choose who you're becoming over who you've been. That doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It means filtering influence. Ask yourself, do the people around me normalize growth or normalize excuses? Do they respect boundaries or pressure me to lower them? Do they challenge me or distract me? You don't outgrow people to feel superior. You outgrow environments that no longer serve your direction. And here's what will happen. Some friends will distance themselves, not because you did something wrong, but because your discipline reflects their stagnation. That's not your responsibility to fix. Real friends adjust. Temporary ones resist. Protect your energy like it matters, because it does. Habit 8. Become trustworthy to yourself. This is the core habit. Everything else feeds into this. Self-trust. Most people don't lack ability. They lack belief in their own consistency. And why wouldn't they? If you repeatedly say, I'll start Monday, I'll wake up early, I'll stop scrolling, I'll go to the gym, and then you don't, your brain starts filing evidence. Not evidence that you're incapable, evidence that you're unreliable. And when you don't trust yourself, commitment feels scary because you assume you'll disappoint yourself again. So you avoid big goals. You play small. You say, I'm just not that disciplined. No, you just haven't practiced keeping small promises. Self-trust is built like this. Drink the water, make the bed, walk after lunch, read at night, track spending, reset your space. Individually, small, repeated daily, identity shifting. You stop being someone who tries, you become someone who executes. And when that identity locks in, you stop chasing results, because results follow reliability. You can't build muscle without self-trust. You can't build wealth without self-trust. You can't build skill without self-trust. It's the foundation, and it's built quietly. Habit 9. The digital detox window. Let's talk about the thing draining you most. Your phone. Most people say they're busy. They're not. They're distracted. Check your screen time. Be honest. If it says 4 to 6 hours a day, that's not normal. That's dependency. Imagine if you worked on your goals 4 hours every day. Where would you be in 6 months? Now imagine you give those hours to scrolling instead. You don't need to delete everything. You need structure. Pick 3 hours daily. Put your phone in another room. Not silent, not face down. Out of reach. For me, it's 9 a.m. to noon. No notifications, no social media, no dopamine interruptions. The first week will feel uncomfortable. Your brain will look for stimulation. It will tell you you're missing something. You're not. You're reclaiming attention, and attention determines trajectory. What you repeatedly focus on becomes your life. Scatter it, and you drift. Concentrate it, and you transform. Most people don't fail for lack of intelligence. They fail from fractured focus. Guard your attention like it's your future, because it is. Habit 10. Discipline is peace, not punishment. There's a myth about discipline, that it's aggressive, that it's suffering, that it's constant grinding. That's not discipline. That's chaos in disguise. Real discipline feels calm. It removes the internal debate. You don't argue with yourself about bedtime. You don't negotiate about workouts. You don't question whether you'll work. You already decided, and that decision frees energy. Most people are exhausted, not from action, but from constant negotiation. Should I? Maybe later. I'll start tomorrow. That loop drains you. Discipline closes the loop. You eat similar breakfasts. You go to bed at consistent times. You plan your days in advance. It's not restrictive, it's stabilizing. And stability creates peace. You're not constantly reacting, you're steering. That's power. Not loud power, quiet power. The kind that compounds. Let's pause. Notice the shift happening here. We started with water and making your bed. Now we're talking about self-trust and attention control. This is how real change works. Small behaviors, stable identity, controlled focus, long-term progress. Most people chase intensity. You're building consistency, and consistency outperforms intensity every time. By now, you should notice something. None of this is complicated. That's intentional. You don't need more information. You need tighter execution. Most people are drowning in content and starving for discipline. They watch productivity videos. They save motivational clips. They research routines, but they don't implement. And without implementation, information becomes entertainment. We're not building entertainment. We're building structure. Let's finish this properly. Habit 11. Schedule tomorrow before today ends. Let me tell you where most mornings are lost. Confusion. You wake up, you check your phone, you drift. You think, what should I work on today? That question alone wastes energy. High performers don't wake up deciding. They wake up executing. Here's the rule. Before you sleep, write down 3 priorities for tomorrow. Not 15, not a brain dump. 3. And they must matter. Not reply to emails, not organize desktop. Real movement tasks. The gym session, the sales call, the chapter written, the proposal finished, the skill practiced. When you wake up, there's no debate. You already chose. And that clarity eliminates hesitation. Hesitation is where procrastination lives. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. If your day isn't structured before it starts, you'll default to distraction. 5 minutes at night can save you 5 scattered hours tomorrow. Simple, powerful, unsexy, which is exactly why it works. Habit 12. Do one hard thing before noon. There's something you're avoiding right now. You know what it is. The uncomfortable task, the difficult conversation, the project that matters most. Most people warm up with easy tasks first. They check messages, they organize files, they prepare. That's disguised avoidance. And here's what avoidance does. It drains mental energy all day. Even when you're not working on it, it's sitting in the back of your mind, unfinished, heavy. So flip the order. Every day, do one hard thing before noon. Just one. It doesn't have to be massive, but it must require courage. Mend the message. Start the workout. Make the call. Open the document and begin. When you complete something uncomfortable early, your confidence rises. You stop carrying it. You stop dreading it. You stop negotiating. Courage compounds. And when you build the identity of, I handle difficult things, your standards change.
Most people avoid discomfort daily and then wonder why they feel weak. Strength isn't built in comfort, it's built in action. And you don't need to conquer the world before lunch, just one hard thing, daily. That's how momentum builds. Habit 13. Understand the compounding effect of boring. Here's the final piece. Why do these habits matter? Because they connect. Drink water, think clearer. Think clearer, choose better food. Eat better, sleep deeper. Sleep deeper, wake sharper. Wake sharper, execute better. Execute better, build confidence. Confidence leads to consistency. Consistency leads to results. It's a chain reaction. But here's the problem. Compounding is invisible at first. You won't feel transformed in a week. You won't look dramatically different in 30 days, which is why most people quit. They expect fireworks, but growth is quiet. 6 months of boring consistency will outperform 6 years of sporadic intensity. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You need to stabilize yourself. And stabilization doesn't trend, it compounds. Let me speak to you directly now. You don't need saving, you need structure. No course will save you. No coach will carry you. No app will discipline you. You either become someone who follows through, or you remain someone who talks about change. There's no middle ground. The harsh but helpful truth. You are not behind. You are undisciplined. And that's good news, because discipline is trainable. You are not unlucky. You are inconsistent. Also trainable. You are not incapable. You are scattered. Trainable. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards reliability. If you became reliable for 6 months, truly reliable, your body would change, your finances would improve, your confidence would rise, your focus would sharpen. Not because you're special, because you stopped leaking energy everywhere. Most people try to upgrade their life without upgrading their standards. You can't keep the same habits and expect a different identity. That's fantasy. This is reality. Wake up, drink water, make the bed, walk after meals, read at night, track money, cook food, reset your space, filter your circle, guard your focus, plan tomorrow, do hard things early, repeat. That's it. It's not glamorous, it's not viral, but it works. And if you actually implement it, not just nod along, your life 6 months from now will feel different. Calmer, sharper, more stable. You'll walk differently, think differently, respond differently, because you trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you stop chasing shortcuts. You start building foundations. That's what grown discipline looks like. Not hype, peace. Let me leave you with this. There was a period in my life where everything felt chaotic. Sleep off, money scattered, focus fractured, environment messy, and I kept looking for a breakthrough, a big change, a dramatic reset, a sudden transformation. It never came. What came instead were small, boring decisions made daily, repeated quietly. At first, nothing changed. Then something subtle shifted. I felt less overwhelmed, less reactive, less scattered. And over time, that stability became momentum. Momentum became results. Not because I found a secret, because I stopped avoiding basics. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need to respect fundamentals. And fundamentals aren't exciting. They're effective. So here's your choice. Keep consuming content about improvement, or implement these 13 habits for the next 6 months without fail. One path feels easier today. The other feels easier long-term. Choose wisely. If you love this video, tell me in the comment section which one you will be implementing starting today, and don't forget to subscribe. Remember, it all starts with you to fix yourself up. No one else is going to do it for you.